All right. Well, hi, Vanna. It is such a pleasure to meet you. I've been a huge fan of yours like most of my life. I'm Kristin Omdahl, by the way. It's just my pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. And welcome to the Create, Share, Inspire podcast. I know my audience is going to be so excited to have you. I mean, we're just all so excited for you to be joining us today.
Well, I'm so excited to be part of this because you know how much I love to crochet.
Yes, I do. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, how has quarantine life been for you? Like, what's different and what's the same in your life right now?
What's different? I'm preparing 3 meals a day. That's different, you
Yes.
know, cooking. The good part is both of my kids are home. So
Oh,
I'm loving that. Absolutely loving. I'm going a little stir crazy. I go for walks every day, but other than the grocery store, that's pretty much the only place I've been in what, 2.5 months.
yeah, that part's definitely very different. I agree. You've been a pop culture icon for decades, America's sweetheart, game show hostess, successful philanthropist. How do you balance work and home life?
Um, it all kind of goes together. I've worked my whole life, so I think from the time I was 12 years old and babysitting and homework and all that stuff to doing Wheel of Fortune for 37 years and having 2 kids. I don't know, it all kind of goes together. I'm a very organized person. I usually have schedules. I get up, I exercise, I do everything pretty much on a schedule. So I think that helps a lot.
I agree. I think prioritizing and scheduling and lists is absolutely the way to go to stay on schedule. You've been in the public eye for so very long, and you've had to share your successes, your failures, and mourning deep losses in the public eye. How do you maintain your mental health through all of that?
Well, growing up in the South, I'm just a normal person. I'm not a Hollywood type person. And I always had support growing up in a small town of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. When I was young, we had population 5,000. So everybody knew everybody. So I kind of had warmth all around me. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I still kept that same, I don't know what you call it. I don't know. I feel like even though I live in this big city, I feel like I'm in a small town because that's the way I grew up. Even at home, this is home for me. I raised my kids the same way I was raised. So I don't know, it's kind of normal for me. I don't get involved in all that Hollywood stuff.
Well, good for you. I think that's what's really helped you a ton as well, just to stay out of it. We have a choice of how we can control the things we can control, and to let go of the things we can't control, I think makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Yes. And my mother taught me to be kind and honest and hardworking. So that's kind of what I did. So, and hope to continue to do.
Yeah, I heard that you like to journal or write diaries. Is that true?
That is true. I think that's important because we all hold so much in. You don't have to share it with anybody. If you just write down your thoughts and your feelings, your happy feelings, sad feelings, angry feelings, whatever they are, I really think it helps get it out and for you not to hold it in. And another fun thing that I did, which I will encourage young moms to do with their children, not young moms, but moms with young children or babies. For my kids' whole life, they're now 20, almost 26 and almost 23. I kept a diary from the time even before they were born. I wrote about what I was feeling them in my stomach. And I kept a diary throughout their life of important things that happened or their first steps or things that they might say or whatever. And I've put pictures with the caption or the little 2 sentences that I wrote. So they have had a diary for their whole life. And it's fun for me to look back on too. Because things you don't remember as a mother, right? You go, oh, I'll never forget this. And you do.
Oh, wow, what a precious gift for you and for them. I mean, that's just priceless. What a great idea. Did you get the idea from somebody else?
I didn't. It just
Okay.
occurred to me. Again, we go back to writing in a diary
Right.
I've done since I was, 15 years old. So it started that way. I said, well, I have one for myself. Why don't I start one for my kids? When I started, before they
That's,
were born.
that's amazing. We are fellow kitty lovers, by the way. And I remember that you used to have a cat named Rhett after Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. And I
Yeah.
know that you now have a cat named Stella. And I was wondering if she's named from a movie character as well.
She's not, oddly enough. When we got her, she was just kind of like stealth, she was very stealth. And it was like, oh, let's call her Stella. So that's kind of where that came from. I wish she was around. I'd have you look at her.
Is she a tabby?
She is.
Yeah, I have two gray tabbies too.
Oh, they're wonderful, aren't they?
They're so wonderful. I think of them as my little guardian angels. They're so sweet and affectionate, and they're from the same litter. I adopted them together from the same litter, and they're my little angels.
What are their names?
Bjorn and Becker, named after tennis players.
I got it.
My son was a
Very
tennis player,
nice.
so we went with tennis names. It was fun.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah. I know that you were taught how to crochet from your mom at 5 years old.
It was my grandmother, actually.
Your grandmother, I'm sorry, I did know that. I misspoke. Thank you. And that I know that you took a break for several years and went back in your 20s. And I know that you taught your daughter how to crochet at a young age. And I was wondering if she still crochets now in her 20s.
She does occasionally, not that often, she just graduated college, so she was quite busy in college. So maybe now during this downtime, maybe I'll do it, because I do it almost every day, especially now.
Me too. Do you enjoy any other crafts?
What else do I like to do? That's probably the main thing. Another thing I do like to do is make greeting cards. Like I'll use like if people send cards, I get, obviously being in show business, I get a lot of birthday cards or just cards from fans. So instead of, I recycle them, shall I say. So I'll make cards out of them, make new cards out of them. So that's kind of fun for me.
Oh, that's great. Sometimes I'll add crochet like little motifs to the front of a card, like take a plain note card and decorate them with motifs.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Personal touch. I'm big on the handwritten note idea, so I love making cards too.
Yes. Cool.
Now, is there anything about crochet that you admire that you've never done or never learned how to do before?
Gosh, there's so many things that I do admire, but I haven't learned how to do them. I've been pretty simple with with patterns and such. When I first restarted, not when I was 5, but when I was in my early 20s, when I picked it back up from watching my hairdresser on Wheel of Fortune, crocheting her baby a blanket. It's like, oh, I used to do that. I'm going to pick it back up again. So I just kind of made my own pattern, and it's basic. You know how we always go back to the basics, and it's simple. And I as a matter of fact, I have one, I'm making this baby blanket right now, and it's basically just 2 stitches, and it's just simple. And sometimes I'll take ribbon and run through the little windows there.
That's so pretty. Now, I have something to show you.
Oh my.
In
the past.
Yes, I first read this when I was 15 years old and was so inspired by you back then. And I've kept it. And I went over it this weekend to see if there were anything that I wanted to ask you about from the book. And I found something that I'm so excited to ask you about. You have a crochet pattern in here.
Good. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I think it's the pattern you're making right now. It's 5 rows of double crochet and then a row of double crochet chain 2.
Yes, that's it. But although I've switched to, depends on which size blanket. This one I'm doing 3. It depends on the weight of the yarn, Normally I do 3 now. So there's 3 there.
That's awesome.
So here's a finished one.
Oh, so pretty. And because it's a pattern that you're so familiar with, that really makes it a Zen project for you then, doesn't it? Where you don't have to think about it.
Exactly. I don't have to, the only count basically is the first row, you know, when I'm chain
Right.
stitching to start the new pattern. I mean, obviously I have to count 3 or 4 rows and then do my
Mhm.
other row, but yes, it's so easy.
That's wonderful. I think Zen projects are definitely, you should always have at least one Zen project on hand for when you want to just zone out. That's great. I heard
Yeah.
that you started your Lion brand line of yarn after a Johnny Carson appearance. Is that true?
That is true. I was on Johnny Carson and I taught the love of crochet. And David Blumenthal, who is the CEO brand yarn company, contacted me and said, I hear you're a huge, an avid crocheter. I'd love to send you some yarn. So he sent, which I was very familiar with his yarn anyway, because I use it.
Right.
And then we started a relationship and I became their spokesperson. And then uh, gosh, probably around 10 years ago, that he said, hey, you know what, we should start your own line. And I said, that would be awesome, but I want to give back. So I decided to donate half of my proceeds to St. Jude. So it
Amazing.
warms my heart to do something like that. That was the best thing I ever did. I absolutely love that. So here's something that I love to crochet and I'm able to give back as well.
And I've heard it, you've reached over $2 million donated so far. Is that true?
That is true. We have
Wow.
donated over $2 million. So I want to thank all of the needle work there for all that you've done because you have helped that and made that happen. So thank you very much for being part of that. You have saved a lot of lives.
I want you to, this is just a little side something to tell you, but I'm one of the cast members on Knit and Crochet Now on PBS. And I use Vanna's Choice yarn on all of my segments on the show.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Like I said, I've been a huge fan of yours my whole life. So anytime I have a choice and it's to use Vanna White's product or someone else's, I would always support you no
Oh,
matter
I
what.
so appreciate that. I thank you and thank you.
That's awesome. Now, I hear you have a special event coming up with Lion Brand, and I would love for you to share that with all of us.
Yes, on June 14th, it's called Stitch Around the World, and it's stitchers from all around the world. We're all getting together, and anybody who's needlepoint or crocheting or knitting or whatever it is that you do, it gives everybody a chance to be in one place at the same time and talk about your projects or just talk about things that we all love. So I'm very excited about that event coming up.
That's amazing. And in our current world situation, to be able to do it virtually is going to be such a big deal to so many people that wouldn't have ever been able to make of an event, but even everybody who's stuck at home now that would have even had the choice to come.
Exactly. And also you being so involved in it as well, we know how wonderful it is to have that hobby, right? To have something to do like that, because not only are you keeping yourself busy, but you're making something for yourself or a loved one or a family member or for a charity. So it all goes to a good place.
Yeah, all the way around, all of it's amazing. So I know that the event is on June 14th and I have all of the details for it and I'll put those in the show notes for everybody to have, but it's going to be through a Zoom event and it will be broadcast on Facebook Live from Lion Brand's page, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Vanna. This has been an absolute pleasure to get to meet you and hear more of your story and hear more of what you're doing. You know, you've had every opportunity to retire or do something just for yourself. And you've taken your incredible platform and you've done something to change the world and change the lives of so many human beings. And I'm a little choked up, but
Aww.
you're amazing.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to thank all of our Wheel of Fortune fans out there as well, because Pat and I and the whole show wouldn't be here without our loyal viewers. And we thank you so much. It's so feels so good to be part of such a great show. You know, we're a half hour of family fun, and in this crazy world, it's nice to a safe place to go to for 30 minutes with your family and watch and enjoy. So again, thank you and everyone out there that keeps watching and enjoying our show. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And we will see you on June 14th for the Stitch Around the World event.
Okay, see you
Okay.
then.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Wasn't it wonderful to learn so much more about Vanna White today? I hope you enjoyed this interview, and I will have information on her exciting event, Stitch Around the World, in the show notes in the video description, as well as on a blog post, and that will also be linked in the video description. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you in the next video.